Welcome to another Harry's Hobbies video, and in this video I'm going to go over just a few of the tools that I'll be using on the upcoming model build for this diorama from Foss Scale Models. So let's get started. As you can see in front of me, I have numerous tools already laid out, and I'll go over these kind of quickly but not too fast. We'll start up over here on the right with a small set of vice grips. This is good for holding parts together. I have 2 or 3 of these and this size, as well as a set of needle nose and one that's got a wider mouth to it, and that's good for holding parts together while you're waiting for the glue to dry. And then next up, you'll see that I have multiple X-Acto knives. And the reason for this is I keep one with a new blade in it for very sharp cuts. And then the other ones, I kind of go in order as they get worn out, and I rotate them through back and forth. When one gets to the point where you can't use it anymore, that becomes the new one. And then the new one that I was using becomes the second in line, third, fourth, and so on. So I like to do that. That way you're not wearing out blades as fast. And because I think that's kind of unnecessary. So that's the explanation for having so many knives at the ready. Then we come to the hemostats. Good for pinching parts together and holding them, or even getting down and putting something into place that your fat finger just can't quite get into. And that's about it for those guys. Scissors, can't forget scissors. This is a rather large pair, and this is from Onhand Tools. I like using these. They're very sharp. You can cut through about anything with them. They come in handy for cutting wires, cutting, of course, most of the HO models that I build come with paper decals, so those need to be trimmed. And then I also have this pair of scissors, which is a lot finer tip. It's a lot sharper, and this is for getting in the little detailed areas for trimming when you get something that's just a little out of place. And then we have the tweezers. These come in handy for a multitude of different little things while it's going on. And I use these quite often as well. I have a small pair of snips. And this is good for getting parts off the tree. Trimming down some of the, if you've got plastic sprues, it'll trim down the plastic sprues to something that you can easily fit into your model, especially when you're scratch building stuff, and that's handy. Next up, this is a simple item, just a Bic lighter. This comes in handy for giving some different effects. Maybe you want a different effect to the window and you need to melt that clear plastic just a little bit, and it doesn't take much. It's also good for helping with the wires when you're lighting up a model, which I'll be doing with this model as well. Sharpie pens, a variety of different colors. These are just the black and blue ones that I have. I do have more, and this comes in handy when you're working on the model, to add a little bit of color, maybe hide a mistake that you've made, or whatever else. A set of files. These are great when you're working with the basswood in these HO scale kits to get the fine lines smoothed out so that they'll take the paint a little bit better. And again, you can hide mistakes. And we all have mistakes when we're building models. There's no such thing as a perfect model. And we can't forget the glue gun. for obvious reasons. I use this a lot, especially when I'm doing the scenery and adding trees and the grasses and stuff like that. And of course I have a bunch of paint brushes. And we all know what those are used for, so I'm not even going to get into an explanation of those at all. And then I have this little tool. This is a cuticle tool that came from a beauty supply store. I think I paid about 50-60 cents for this. Something like that. Very handy for pushing the decals into those little fine areas when you want it to get it to blend in to the little ridges and stuff that might be on whatever model. It even works on styrene, but it works great on the wood models that I'm building. And then we come to the glue that I use. And I use this. I use Gorilla Glue. I have two kinds here. I have the regular super glue, which is very light. It flows almost like water. And this stuff sets up very, very quickly. And that's what I like about that. If you got a spot and you know that it's already in place, you hit it with a little bit of this and it sets up pretty quick. And then in this bottle I have the super glue gel, which again is just as strong as this, but being that it's a gel, it gives you a lot more time to get things set into place. And you might have to hold the part a little bit longer while it's setting, but this works great when you're trying to get something lined up, but you don't want to mess around with it 3 or 4 times while you're lining it up, and that's great for that. And then we come to some of the fun stuff. And yes, that's right, I had Crayola markers and Crayola colored pencils, and I use these a lot when I'm weathering out stuff. You can see that some of them are a little bit worn. Maybe not. But these are handy and come in very useful for a myriad of different things, especially the markers, because those will, if you put those on the plastic windows, the light will actually show through, so you get a variety of color choices. You have your red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, black. Black not so much for obvious reasons. But the blues and the yellows will give you a nice, not fully opaque color on the plastic windows. And it will show through. And of course we have to have highlighter markers for the same reason. I have different colors. These are just the pink ones that I use from time to time. And again, these are generally used for the windows because the highlighter is clear when you put it on windows. Don't use the pink too much, but I have used it in the past. And that's about it for the smaller tools that I use. I almost forgot another pair of snips that I use. These are just, actually they're supposed to be for plastic sprues, but I've broken like 3 of these, so I try not to use these, but on very, very small, light parts that don't take a lot. If I want something, if I need to use a lot of pressure on something, I switch to these. Because as I said, I've broken like 3 of these right here. So they're not very strong and they're not very reliable, but they do come in handy. $3-4 at a Hobby Lobby, I think. But that's about it for this video. Hopefully I'll be doing a box opening very shortly with the new model. So stay tuned for that. And again, if you have any comments, criticisms, suggestions, whatever else, leave them in the comments. and I'll be happy to get back to them and answer them if I can. If they're questions, I'll answer them. But other than that, I appreciate it. Thanks for watching.